Anybody home? Hey, can I get a soft pretzel? Can I get a pint of fries? How about a Coca-Cola? Yo, Adrian! Can I get a slice? I like a little gravy and cheese on them, too. I got my own onion. Can you bloom it for me? Well, looks like I'm not gonna get a sausage today. This'll have to do. I think I need some onions and pepper. And a nice crusty roll. Not bad. Welcome to another episode of Travels with Charlie, Vermont Politics in Real Life. Today I'm at the Champlain Valley Expo, home of the Champlain Valley Fair. As you can see, you got Rocky's Pizza in the background, and I've been walking around today. Nothing's open, but who knows when it will open. The fairgrounds, or the exposition, as they say, it's home to many events, charity bingos, political rallies, concerts. And basically, since COVID-19, it's been shuttered. None of that's happening. It's now become a testing site for coronavirus. In fact, just beyond where I'm sitting here in front of the grandstand today, University of Vermont Medical Center actually has their testing site. It's up and running, and I've seen some cars going through here as I've been here throughout the day. Well, we're going to be talking today about politics not as usual. And my guest joining me today, Deb Bilodeau, Chair of the Vermont Republican Party, and Scott McNeil, Executive Director of the Vermont Democratic Party. Thank you both for joining me today. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie. I'm glad to be here.
Hopefully someday we can all be here when the fair's open and enjoy, some cotton candy and a nice, I don't know what your favorite is, but I love a pig in a blanket, I'll tell you.
Al's French fries.
Oh yeah, always good. So it's hard to realize that we have a presidential, election that's coming up in November. We've got, we're right into a campaign season, probably not as hot as it usually would be until after Memorial Day or Labor Day when it really kicks in. But since COVID-19 has shuttered everything, we've seen very little rallies of any kind. How is that affecting things with the campaigns and the like out there? Scott, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it's kind of forced campaigns to move even faster in a direction that they were already heading in. A lot of campaigns were already starting to have a bigger digital presence, whether it be through Facebook, Hulu, YouTube. And that's what's happening with COVID-19 has already forced a lot of state parties and a lot of campaigns, I think, who are already crawling in that direction to move full speed in that direction out of sheer necessity. But a lot of campaigns are still, I think, trying to figure it out. It's going to be, I think, a lot of art this year rather than science.
Deb, what are your thoughts? How is this going to impact the upcoming campaign season?
Sure. We know that perhaps in our lifetime, this might be the most challenging political season and landscape that we've had to deal with. One of our strongest candidate tools historically has been face-to-face with the voters, and that is door-to-door, more than once, and large groups meetings. Well, we're not sure if that's going to happen at all. So I would suspect that our incumbents probably have a leg up due to name recognition, and that the new people that are trying to break into the political seats in Montpelier it's going to be a little more challenging to them.
But how important are public rallies? I mean, people don't they love public rallies?
Oh, absolutely.
There's energy, there's all of that.
Yeah.
You make great campaign videos and ads out of those rallies.
Absolutely, and people just love the synergy of coming together and being in a group of, let me just say, like-minded or same-spirited or same direction type people. And we know that people enjoy that based on what we've watched for the last few years, as our current president has been doing. Those rallies have been phenomenal.
People are, they're struggling. And people that are running for office, how do you ask for a donation? Are we going to see the campaigns running a lot leaner this time than they ever have before? Will we see less radio, hear less radio, and see less TV ads? What do you think, both of you?
I think it's too early to say either way. Even in the hardest of times, there's still been campaigns run, there's still been TV ads, there's still been radio and digital ads. And I think particularly in this new environment we're in, it is a lot cheaper to run paid advertising, particularly online, than it's ever been before.
Let's talk about some of the issues that the politicians and those that are running for office are going to be talking about or should be talking about as we go forward here. Obviously, everyone today, I mean, what's on their mind? It's COVID-19. Will there be a vaccine? When will the restrictions be lessened? When do we get out and get back with our regular life? So again, to the whole issue of campaigning this season, what's the focus on? What are people really, really thinking about? Deb?
I think the Democrats are working up to around 167 million in new taxes to help fill the void. I think pre-COVID, my numbers are rounded here. Pre-COVID, we had around a $200 million budget hole. I think we're up around 400 million now. How do we recover from that? Can we ever recover from that? This is going to be a real challenge. So one of the things that's happening is there is a host of potential new taxes coming at the taxpayers. And you're right. I think it's they're looking to raise the sales tax 1 cent, a tax on sugary drinks, a tax on candy. It's huge.
Yeah. Let me bring Scott in at this point, Deb. Scott, with that being said, anytime you want to raise a tax, it's always a hard sell. It's going to be a real hard sell now when, again, still there's a lot of uncertainty. How do you sell that tax?
I don't think it's a question of raising taxes. I think it's more of an issue that that in Vermont this year will be, as it is in other states, about what type of government and what type of services Vermonters need. Whether it be education, roads, healthcare, broadband, weatherization, the things that Vermonters need to live, work, and raise a family here. And I am afraid of what could happen in the upcoming year or so. There could be drastic cuts that really hurt Vermont residents.
Yeah, well, that's a tough situation. I know Tim Ash, Senate President Pro Tem, recently said, let me know what programs do you want to cut. That's really not for us to say. I don't think that's up to legislature to decide where the cuts are. They have the insight. We don't.
It really is why it's so important for us to have these elections and have these conversations, because regardless of what happens, there will be an election and there will be conversations. That really, I think, is the question, is what type of society and what type of community do we want to have?
Let me ask you both just your thoughts on what's happening right now with, the governor has his daily press briefings, and each week we hear a little bit more about, another turn of the spigot. The spigot's been turned a little bit, but do you think there's a little too much caution here? Do you think we should maybe turn that spigot a little more aggressively, loosen some of the restrictions? Some of the restrictions have been loosened recently. I still can't get a haircut, by the way. Are we going too slow? Would you like to go a little faster, Scott?
Well, there's a reason why I'm wearing a hat today.
You too? Okay.
I'm starting to look like Kramer from Seinfeld with the crazy hair. When it comes to things like this, we have to err on the side of caution. If we have a second surge of this, that could make all the work we're doing right now with social distancing and being responsible and being good community members even more difficult and more frustrating. It is tough. Nobody's going to argue that. But I think the question is, Do we want to get through this together now and see a light at the end of the tunnel, or do we want to go in and out and experience second or third waves that could really prolong this?
Deb, do you think we should be turning that spigot a little bit faster?
So the state of Vermont, 630,000 people plus or minus. I think we've had 800 cases of COVID. I think we are at 53 people that have passed away under COVID. I respect the governor and those wishes of the people that want to be careful and cautious. We all get that. But if we look at where the deaths have come from, you're looking at the Burlington Rehab, you're looking at the Birchwood Nursing over off North Avenue, a couple of deaths on Susie Wilson Road in a senior housing. So we know that. We know where most of these deaths have come from. I think that the collateral damage from what we've done here is yet to be seen. There are businesses that were forced to be shuttered because of COVID that may not open. I would like to see the spigot opened a little faster.
Let's talk about the economic recovery. You can hear me. Got a helicopters keep circling overhead here.
Oh, we
Hopefully-
see him. Yeah.
They may drop some food here for me shortly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the economic recovery, and a lot of it. We're getting stimulus from the feds. I know many states are relying on using some of that money to shore up some things that they had problems with well before COVID-19. So let's discuss that a little bit and see what your thoughts are on what we should be doing with that money and where should it be going.
I think we got about $1.25 billion in the state of Vermont for COVID-19 rescue money, if you will. I would hope that none of that money is being used to bail out poor financial decisions that were made by the state of Vermont. Even though it's my state and I don't like the financial situation that we're in, I'm not comfortable using other people's monies to bail out my financial problems.
Scott, go ahead. Your response, your thoughts?
If I recall correctly, it was more like of $2 billion, and I think getting that money for a smaller state, I think we do have to give a shout out to Senator Leahy, Senator Sanders, Congressman Welsh, and our federal delegation for helping to get that money. I think with what's happening from COVID-19, there are going to be a lot of indirect consequences, particularly when it comes to the economy, when it comes to state budgets, when it comes to state services. Having that money to use to either hold off or eliminate cuts that could have devastating consequences on our most vulnerable populations is going to be really important.
Let me just jump in, maybe not speaking for Deb, but referring to issues that may have been, just trying to shore up financial problems that we had prior to COVID-19. For instance, and I'll just use for instance, we have a pension crisis in the state. Certainly, one could argue that we need to shore that up so we can move on. But really, that money shouldn't. Would you agree with me, Scott? That money should not be used to shore up the pension.
I think what a lot of voters and a lot of Vermonters are focused on right now is their next paycheck, when they can head back to work, if they've lost their job, how they're going to get their job, and if they're unemployed. We've seen, particularly with the unemployment system that is over 30 years old, or around 30 years old, how the lack of investment, how the lack of upkeep can have devastating consequences.
Deb, did you want to jump in there?
I did actually. The unemployment IT system that we have, Scott may or may not know this, but there's been money in the budget for years to upgrade that, but the money's been diverted to other causes for that money. So we're not maintaining some of our house, if you will. We're out building shiny new projects with dollars that flow in. We had the money and we didn't spend it. We spent it somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend anyone's actions here, Deb, but I think my understanding is, and I probably, or you would, or anybody would do the same if you were given. We always had a very low
Sure.
unemployment rate, and you'd go, well, we could spend the money and upgrade.
Sure.
It's like, there's really not much need. We can just do it by pencil and pad and paper. So why
Absolutely.
do it? So maybe a little bit of a pass on that, but you're right. It certainly
But you're absolutely right, Charlie. That belongs to all of us. That's not a party issue. That is everyone's issue.
So along with some of the uncertainty that we have, how are we going to vote? We don't know. Are we going to be able to go to our town halls, our schools, or wherever it is that we vote? I'd like to get both of your thoughts on the safety of voting by mail and why we can't simply go and vote like we always have. As I speak today, here it is at the end of May. Stores are open. People stand in line. Scott, why don't you go first?
It's not just standing in line. It's the poll workers. It's who are there all day. Many of whom are elderly. It's those who
can I jump in? I mean, we have clerks that work at supermarkets that many of them are elderly, and they're there all day long. The only thing between them and me is a piece of plexiglass, and I don't see much difference.
I think the big difference here is we have seen other states do vote by mail, both red states and blue states. States as blue as Oregon and as red as Utah. I know the CARES Act has reserved about $3 million in cost in spending for voting for Vermont. So when it comes to vote by mail, it's a way to not only increase civic participation, but also to protect the elderly, the immunocompromised, reduce the risk of asymptomatic transmission, decrease the number of scenarios where people are congregating in a gym or in a community center and still have people's voices heard.
Yep. Deb, I'll let you jump in here in just a moment, but one thought that I do want to bring out, and that is, and I would say that to anyone that proposes that, is how do you convince me that this state in particular can do a good job with it? I don't have the confidence with what I've seen with unemployment, with PPP, with a lot of that, not just in Vermont, but in many states. We've seen that government has just been overwhelmed with, it's a new program, and this would be something new. Man, I don't know if I want to do a test, especially on a presidential election.
I would agree with that. Voting is one of our basic rights in America, and none of us take it for granted. And culturally, it's who we are. We go to the voting booth in the privacy of the booth. We make our choices. Now, I understand that you can't get there. I've absentee ballot voted myself. What I have a trouble with is mailing everyone on every voter checklist a ballot. As a former poll worker and working on the Board of Civil Authority for about 12 years, I can assure you that there's a lot of housework that needs to be done on those voter checklists. I watched people that passed away stay on the voter checklist for years, and I think we need to do a lot of homework across the state and make sure that our voter checklists are in order.
I'm going to bring my little teddy bear in. You see a lot of these in windows today. You go around, and so I bring mine with me. And this is the point of the series where I hand out a magic wand to my guests. And if you were here, you would get it. But since we're doing the Zoom thing, we can't do it. I'll let you go first, Deb. Wave the wand.
Okay. I'd like to see more peace and civility among our population, just not in Vermont, but across the nation. Lives are too short to spend a lot of time in battle, if you will.
I got a wish too. I wish I want to go over there and get a slice of Rocky's pizza, but that's not happening either today.
Yeah.
Scott, go ahead.
I think the thing I would wish for is for all of us to have a universal set of facts. We can have our differences of opinion, we can have our points of view, but I think having a universal set of facts of this is what is real, this is not really what's subjective, would really, to our earlier discussion, go a long way in improving civil discourse. So that would be my big wish.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. And like I said, hopefully we can meet out here and have pizza sometime in the future, or maybe a pig in the blanket. I want to thank my guest today,
Thank you,
Deb
Charlie.
Bilodeau. Thank you. Deb Bilodeau, chair of the Vermont Republican Party, and Scott McNeil, executive director of the Vermont Democratic Party. And again, thanks to the folks here at the Champlain Valley Expo for letting us shoot our video here today. Want to remind you can see more episodes of Travels with Charlie on Facebook and on YouTube. And I'll see you in my travels.
It's time well spent talking president. Though we may not agree, let your thoughts run free. You can have
When's the
your
show going to start?
if you feel the burn.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Road gravel.
Charlie Papillo! You guys have been great! Good night, everybody!
I want to get your read